Bigfoot Radio. We are with a returning guest, my next door neighbor over here, just right across the border in Idaho, and a couple of hundred miles away. Yeah, big distances out here. So I'd also like to mention that we're in the process of bringing something else to you here that I think a lot of you are going to find useful because, like me, I have lots of pains. I'm disabled, and moving around gets to be even painful sometimes, much less trying to get out in the woods or go camping or anything like that. And especially for the older squatchers out there, you know what it's like. You hear it all the time. Well, there's really something that we can actually do about it at this point. And actually, my guest is the person that's helping all of us to have a chance to get these products that are going to help us. And this is what I'm talking about here is CBD oil, which is not hemp oil. It's different. It's legal in all 50 states. It's also legal in a plethora of other countries. And so I've decided to actually make it available to you guys. And I've got my own link that you can go to here, which will help, again, to support the channel at the same time that you help yourself get a useful product, which is myctfocbd.com, Duke Sullivan. And you'll see that up on the screen right now. And for more information on this very valuable and exciting opportunity, let's bring on our guest for this show, Cindyann Goodbrake. Good to see you again.
Hey, how's it going? I'm sick of winter.
Oh, you and me both. Yeah, it's not melting over here very fast.
It's kind of snowing here, and I'm like, seriously?
Oh, Lord, we don't need that. We're just hoping to have a couple warm days and melt some of the snow. We got like 2 feet sitting on the ground here. And that's down in the valley. So imagine what there is up in the mountains. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know, man. So yes, I'm excited for you. This is something amazing. CBD, what you were just saying.
Yeah, and before you go on and explain to everybody what's available here, I'd like to let the overseas listeners know that it's also available in Canada, England, Sweden, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, American Samoa, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Yep. You said that very well, very fast.
It's as if I do a show or something, you know?
Yeah, yes. And so you gave your link, right?
Yep. Yeah, we'll show that on the screen here while we're talking about it. So if anybody's interested, they can go check it out right away. Okay.
All right. Great. Because for some reason my hearing was not that well when you were saying it. So very exclusive product. I did a lot of research, and I chose this company because of where their resources come from and how it's managed and packaged and how it's priced. That was mainly the thing, because I have purchased other CBD oils, and like, for example, we have a 1500 strength. It is a lot more expensive to purchase that at a store that is exclusive because they have to pay for overhead. Also, another thing is, don't think you're just going to walk into any store and just purchase a product. You have to be educated and know how the CBD product is made. Is it organic? Ask questions. Where does it come from? Who is the supplier? Because not all CBDs are made the same. So CTFO has over 72 products, exclusive CBD products, and meaning we have oils and we have different strengths. Now, these are the oils that you will take in your mouth, 20 drops a day in the morning and in the evening, or once a day. And we also have other products like deep healing rubs. That's a very popular product. And we have a pet line and a beauty line. And gosh, I could talk for an hour on the products. So people can go to your website and check it out. And if they have any questions, they can contact you or me and purchase anywhere in the United States. And they can have it as soon as 3 days. Oh, and it's important to let you know that there is a 60-day money-back guarantee. So that right there is amazing.
Yeah, and how often do you get that with most products nowadays? I mean, they're totally standing behind their product and saying, yeah, this is top quality, and we know it's top quality, and it's going to work for you. So 60-day money-back guarantee.
Yeah, so if you're not happy, you can return it. Okay, they'll reimburse you back, no problem. So there's different strengths. So if anybody wants to know like what strength they should take, just go to your website, and there's some information there and some basic info on what strengths people can order.
Right on. Yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I think there's going to be a lot of people out there that could really benefit from something like this. And again, if you want to go check it out, and especially if you want to purchase, go to myctfocbd.com/Duke Sullivan, and that is up on the screen right now. And then you can go to the store and check out what's available and see what you like. But again, purchases will help continue this show coming to you, and we are entirely viewer funded. So if you'd like to just donate directly to the show and you don't feel like you need any CBD oil, you can also go to paypal.me/WorldBigfootCentral and become one of the viewer supporters of World Bigfoot Radio. So let's get to the show here now. We've had enough bill paying, hopefully, and tuning people into really good products that are available for them. Let's talk about what's been going on over there. You need to update us. What's been happening since the last time we talked to you?
Oh my gosh. I actually got off the phone with somebody who was very concerned that so I'm kind of like overwhelmed because it's just, I have someone who wants me to write a book, and I'm just like, thinking about everything that's happened. I'm just like really overwhelmed because it's something, I keep putting it off like, oh, it's just that. Oh, it's just that. But every situation, every time something has happened, every howl, every audio recorder, anytime I've come home and, they're across the street banging on trees, it's a lot. And now I got this other stuff that could possibly be what they're telling me is, oh, that's not a big, where would you like me to start?
Generally, the beginning's the best place. The last time we left off with you, your kid was being followed by something around the property. You have potential lurker on the property, and since go ahead.
Yeah, so I know we had talked about some things that had happened up here, and I remembered when we hung up, there was something I didn't tell you, and I think I can give you that story. So some of the things that were happening were, I was going across the street because there's a game trail, and that comes on my property and goes across the street and then eventually on up the mountain. But because it's all wooded around here, and because where the mountain sits, and when you're outside and you hear things, sometimes it's hard to tell what direction it comes from. So this last 2 months, I've had some weird stuff going on, and then I was kind of working with some people trying to get some answers. So my 16-year-old, we have a four-wheeler, and it's winter here, so he will go down the road with a friend to go to his friend's house or whatever. And our four-wheeler is it has four-wheel drive, so even if it's snowing, these kids are crazy. Nothing will stop him. As long as he's safe, that's all that I care about. He will take the four-wheeler and go down the road. And this one night he was coming back, and he has to come down this long back road, and it passes by the lake where we found the footprints, where my son found the footprints at. Something started chasing him, and it was just the craziest thing, because when he looked back, it was just something a person, whatever, chasing him at a very fast speed, like almost not human. Does that make sense?
Well, it'd be scary enough if it was a human chasing you.
Right. So there has just been some really weird things happening. He's being chased by something, and that's not even in my ballpark. So he came home and then told me about it. And so I kind of got out there on our community board and was talking with some people. And then after that, I had taken him down because in the mornings he goes to work. He works part-time. He's also homeschooled. So one morning I came home at 6:20 and I stepped outside and I was parked at the end of my driveway. And I heard this crazy sound. And then the dog started barking. And I was trying to find my phone so I could record it. So I actually sent you that recording. And it was a moan. And it was not happy. It sounded very sad. And
yeah, it's pretty creepy. Let's listen to that right now. Okay.
Holy shit. My God. Holy shit.
not happy. It sounded very sad.
And go ahead, Cindy.
So that right there, I am 99% sure is a Sasquatch, okay? Now, there's another recording that I sent you, and I am being told that is not a Sasquatch, it is a Dogman. Now, that is probably one of the creepiest recordings that I have ever got because it was too close for comfort. This time, my audio recorder was on the back porch, a little bit further into, kind of like right off my back porch. There's like this bench, so it's still close enough to where it's close to where, because I'm talking on this video inside the house, so you can hear it, but it doesn't sound. It kind of sounds between a wolf and a Sasquatch. I don't know how else to describe it. So you can hear the chipmunks going off, and then you'll hear it, and then it keeps going, and then it keeps going. So somebody heard that recording because I shared it on Facebook, and they were saying, "Oh, that's not a Sasquatch," and I'm like, "Well, what the heck?" Because I mean, that's all that I know of that. They're saying that's a Dogman. So I'm like, okay, great. I don't know anything about that. I mean, not really. I've kind of been reading about it. I don't know the sounds that they make. I've never seen one. I've never heard one. Or if I did, I didn't know it. But this person that's telling me that, actually, I've had 2 or 3 people tell me that. Oh, that's a Dogman. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe they're both here together. I don't know. But I know that I don't want the Dogman here. The Sasquatch I can deal with, but not the Dogman. So that one recording that you got is definitely in question. That I sent.
Let's let everybody check that one out now then. This is shaping up to be not a lot of fun having, either and or both Bigfoot and Dogman around the property over there. I mean, I'm not a Dogman guy, so I don't know. I do know that Bigfoot can, mimic just about anything. But
yes, that's true. But I'm trying to think back on some of these things that have happened, and I'm trying to kind of like retrace. Maybe there's something I missed. Like, for example, one night I wasn't even here. This was May 2017. So if you go back a couple of years, there is a pattern here. My son is 16. When he was 13, he started camping with his friends. I do believe I told the story that was by Blanchard. Yeah, okay, so that story, they had that encounter. And then he had another encounter when he was camping alone, and he heard something heavy walking around. And then he also heard a very strange animal noise that he described as a raptor out of Jurassic Park movie. Now, a Sasquatch to me doesn't make that noise, and I don't think a wolf would. So I don't know if he's not using the correct description, but he basically had that encounter camping alone. So then this person chases him, and then other times he was riding his four-wheeler, and he felt like something was like watching him, because there's new logging roads on the top of the mountain. So he'll come down and, describe things to me. And, I almost wanted to put down the law where, okay, well, you can't go up there. But that was a year and a half ago. And so now I am being told, well, it's not going to hurt him. So whatever is following him is, at this point, I don't think it's going to hurt him. So I'm not as terrified as I was, even though I still don't really know what's going on because I got that recording. So then there was one night when I came home late on a Monday night, and something basically slapped my house. And my husband got up and he went to go check. My dogs acted fine. There was nothing outside. And then I came home like half an hour later. The next morning, he told me what happened, and I was like, what? So I ran outside to go check on the corner of the house where I assumed this probably could have happened. And I didn't see any footprints, but then again, there's a ton of pine needles because, again, my property is all wooded, and there's this huge tree outside the corner of where my bedroom is and then my son's bedroom. Now, I walked around the other side of the house where my son's bedroom is at, and in front of that, I have like a running porch. Well, there seemed to be these two prints where I suppose something could have slapped the house there, and that was right outside of his bedroom, or outside of his window, I guess. And I tried to wash that off, and so most of it has come off, but whatever touched that was kind of greasy. So to this day, I still have a mark there. It's not as obvious, and it's not as distinct, but I mean, I have to really stop and go, well, what the heck was that? Because in my mind, I'm thinking, it's just a Sasquatch. But now that I think back, why did it slap outside of his bedroom window? Does that mean something? And then also my neighbor, the same night, around midnight, had his motion lights go off by his house. So he has a house, and then he has like this shed that has these, those motion lights that go off. But the thing that was different about that was his animals inside his house were acting very strange. He has cats and he has a bird. So for him to say, well, my bird was like really acting weird, that's kind of strange. And I said, well, then what was it? So later when they went to bed, he was looking outside of his bay windows, and his driveway is kind of like a horseshoe. It's all wooded, but he saw through the window on the left-hand side something standing on two legs in the moonlight, sniffing the air. And when he told me that, I was like, well, I was assuming, okay, well, maybe it was a Sasquatch. Well, when I talked to him the next day, now keep in mind, my neighbor does not believe in Sasquatch or anything like that. So when I approached him, I said, well, you know, what was it? And he says, well, it wasn't a human. And I was like, why? And he said, well, because, I mean, you know, that's weird. You know, what burglar is going to stand right there in the moonlight? And then it turns around and it looked at me, because he said he kind of hid. And I said, so you're hiding from an animal? And he said, well, maybe it was a bear. And then he says, well, it wasn't a Bigfoot, you know, like in a joke. And I was like, I didn't say it was. And then he said, but I slept with my gun all that night. So later in the week, when it was Memorial weekend, me and my husband and family had actually gone out of town for a couple of days out of cell range service. So when we came back in town on the way home, I had messages from my neighbor. His wife is a nurse. So that happened Monday night. So that weekend so that Friday when we had gone out of town, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we were coming back. Sometime in that weekend, his wife was leaving for work. It was 4:45 a.m. So in May, it is daylight here, kind of, you know, at 4:45, it is like dawn. So you can see he was having coffee, looking outside his sliding glass door out to the back of his woods. He saw this thing walking in the very back. So he took his cell phone and he took a picture of whatever this thing was. And I actually saw it. And of course, it's not a very good picture. So I wouldn't go around showing people that because it's not there. It's hard to tell, but he
kind
swears
of blob
up and
squatchy.
yes, exactly. And I don't share those with people unless they have an open mind, you know, to see the possibilities. So I've had some people look at it, and there's actually a guy who's like a hunter, and I can't give his name, but he said he took a look at this picture and he broke it down, and he said off the record, this is either a female bear or it is something else like a Sasquatch. And I said, well, do you see any other distinctions? He said, yes, I see a snout. And I was like, seriously, what Sasquatch has a snout? But I didn't say that. Oh, really? Oh, crap. Well, anyway, he said, I don't think it's a bear because it's the chances of a bear Monday night standing there on its hind legs for that long of a period of time and then looking back at the window, acknowledging my neighbor. And then also the same thing, assuming it's the same thing, 5 days later, walking in his backwoods on hind legs again. No, that's not a bear. So I was like, well, crap. And, you know, we talked some more and that was that. So, and that was in May. And that was when I got, I think, one of those audios that I sent you. And so I have no idea what's going on. I do know there have been times when I'm not okay with whatever is out there. And then other times that I'm fine. So maybe that is the distinction. My sixth sense, you know, your gut instinct I mean, maybe there is something else out there, running through here. But you yourself said that you know what else is available here in this area. And I try to keep it just very basic. I don't like to know about other stuff that is hard to prove or something that I'm not familiar with. Like, for example, a Dogman, okay, that's not great. So for someone to contact me after hearing an audio that I shared on Facebook, because I don't share a lot of stuff on Facebook. I'll share something and then I'll delete it. But after I got that really creepy audio, I shared it somewhere. And then someone contacted me. It's just, Cindy, that's not a Bigfoot. So what's really crazy is that in one of those audios, it actually sounds like, I don't know, some kind of canine, maybe. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they're here together. I don't know, because I know February, that one audio that has the video in the when I'm where it's 6:20 in the morning, that's a Sasquatch. And another thing that's happening around here, they're doing a ton of logging. Now, I don't have a problem with logging, but people around here are saying on our community boards, saying, wow, that's crazy. There's like logging over here, and there's 160 acres being done on your side of the mountain. Because last month, I would get up, let my dogs out at 5 in the morning. Sometimes my dogs will, want out really early. I could see the mountain right in my front yard. I mean, in the distance. And I saw lights up there, and I was like, what is going on? Well, heck, I didn't know they do logging in the middle of winter. Heck, I'm from Texas. So I went on to the community board, and I was like, hey, does anybody know what's going on up on the mountain? Are they doing logging? And then these other people were saying, oh, yeah, they're doing logging because they say it's better because of the weather or because of the road. And I was like, really, that's interesting. I didn't know that. And then a friend of mine said, yeah, and on this side of the mountain where I live, I noticed the same thing too. And then she said, yeah, I thought there was something shady going on. I was like, really? Well, that's interesting. So basically, we've had a lot of logging going on up here. And maybe that sound in the morning at 6:20, because it sounds really sad. Plus, that's not all. I felt it. It was very close. And I don't know if I was hit with infrasound. That's another reason that I'm thinking, well, that's a squatch, that audio. It was not happy. It sounded really sad. And so I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out what the heck is going on here, because this person that's telling me the other audio is a Dogman, is telling me that the area here where I live, all the way up from Rafton, all the way just past my house, Spirit Lake, just past Newport, Washington, into the National Forest. This whole area here has got just a lot of stuff, that hasn't been dealt with in a long time. And I mean, I'm even going off topic here. So that's kind of what's going on. They are doing investigations, like shamans and healers right now. That's what they are doing. They're cleaning the area from where they are. And I can't explain that, what they do and how they do it. But basically, for example, they're saying Dogman is a water spirit. And I'm like, okay. And so it took 3 people to perform a cleansing of the water and this area. So going back to my son being chased by whatever, they were talking about this area being a magnet for different entities, I guess. And they are saying that the Sasquatch have been here for a long time, which we know, but they say that the Dogman are protectors. And because that's not something that I know anything about, they are cleansing the area, getting rid of just all the bad stuff. And they are also cleaning the water. And I can tell you this, but I can't go off into detail because I can't describe it. Spirit Lake through the Blanchard Hoodoo Valley had a lot of bad stuff floating around. And they have performed a cleaning already, and they are continuing to watch the area, I guess, is what they told me. So now all that remains, I guess, are the Sasquatch and the Dogman, because they are not part of those bad entities or all the extra stuff floating around. I'm just wondering, going back all these years, was I wrong about something? Or some of these other things that have happened? Because I know for a fact that you have your typical Sasquatch sounds, moans, hollers, scream, like siren sounds, but I've never heard them at 6:20 in the morning. So that is very strange. And this morning I was talking with somebody who is kind of a logger, and he was saying, yeah, they are doing a ton of logging up there. And I was like, really? That's interesting. So he confirmed it. But as far as, what else could cause them to be that upset, I have no idea. Isn't that crazy?
It actually sounds logical. I mean, if you're going there and cutting their living room down, they're probably not going to be very happy about it. And I don't blame them either. Are they? But I hope they're at least select cutting and not just denuding the whole mountainside. I really hate it when they do that.
Well, I was told that on one area there's 160 acres just in one area. That's a lot, right?
Yeah.
One area is 100. And a guy told me this morning, and this guy is a logger. Okay. He said they are raping the mountain. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? Whatever they're doing is legal. There's nothing I can do to stop it. So yeah, I'm not a happy camper. It's causing problems, and that February day that I heard that, a couple of days later, I was also up. My dog just went berserk. I opened up the door. It was sometime early in the morning, 5:30 or 6, one of those in that time frame. I heard the same thing coming off the mountain, this time further off, but it was loud, and I was like, oh my gosh, but it was over with. I couldn't grab my phone or do anything to catch it, but stand there and hear it. And also that day, I was not feeling well. So I am wondering if I was possibly hit with infrasound. Heck, I have no idea. Because I was feeling really nauseous, and my vertigo had kicked in, and I actually had to sit around most of the day on that day. And my husband had actually brought home some chocolates, and I was sitting here, and he came home, and because I said, oh, I'm fine, don't bring anything. And he's like, what's wrong with you? And I was saying, nothing. I don't know. I just don't feel good. So the only other time that happened to me was in the Big Thicket. So I don't know. Go figure. Maybe I was hit with infrasound that one day, really early in the morning.
That would probably be a good thing to mention at this point, because some of the audience here doesn't really know that much about your backstory or any of the other stuff that you've done in the past. And would you be interested in telling us one or two of your more scarier Bigfoot stories?
Yeah, so a lot of y'all have heard of Hanobi, Oklahoma, southeast Oklahoma. So before I moved up north, I lived in east of Dallas and close to a lake called Lake Tawakoni. So we had horses, and the guy who shoot at horses invited my husband to a trip with this group of people that every October would go to southeast Oklahoma, right outside of Hanobi. I know I'm saying it wrong. And they would stay for a week. Huh?
It's Hanabi.
Hanabi. They would stay there for a week and ride and just hang out. Well, we had already been going there since 1998. We had been camping and taking our horses. But this one time, we had gone with this group of people, and what would happen is that we would take off, a group of us, and we would ride all day, like maybe 25 miles, and then come back. And some of us had kids, and the kids would stay at camp, and other people would help watch the kids. So on this one day, I had gone for a ride. We went, we came back, and then the next day, I stayed back at camp. Well, at that time, there wasn't a whole bunch of kids, and my son didn't come on this one particular trip. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to saddle up my horse, because sometimes people didn't have a horse, and they would borrow other people's horses. But mine was there. I was very picky because I had just got JJ my horse, and I didn't want somebody giving him bad habits. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to ride down to the store. So I saddled up my horse, and my dog came with us, Roxy. She was half coyote. She's half coyote and half something else. I don't know. We found her out in the country by Lake Tawakoni. So she would go with us when we would go horseback riding. So on this one morning, she came with me, and I think I had 6 miles to go to from where we were camped out, because I asked someone. Now, my husband said, don't be taken off by yourself. Well, of course, I never listened. So I saddled my horse, and JJ was a big horse, and I was trying to test the saddle and the saddle horn and pull down, because I had a fear of, I had had an equestrian accident. So usually my husband saddled my horse, and I could, strap him in or whatever. So I was kind of scared, because if he takes off, I could be toast, possibly. So I still had some apprehensions, but I wanted to hop on him and to face my fears and to go for a ride. So I took off down the road, and I started going up this hill, because I thought, oh, well, there's, a neat trail. So I went up this one hill, and all of a sudden I just did not feel okay. Now, I had gone down the road like 2 miles already. So then I went up this road, up this hill, and I smelled something, but it didn't smell bad, but it just smelled weird, kind of like a spice. So cinnamon is something that I smelled, which is completely irrelevant to anything, but that's just what I remember. My dog just freaked out, and my horse at the same time, and JJ just whipped around and started taking off down the mountain. And because I didn't trust myself, since he was a new horse, I just held on, and he ran all the way back to camp. And I had to get off of him. I was shaking. His flanks were ticking. And I just grabbed him by his halter, and I took him to the creek. And I was trembling, and I just stood there while he drank some water. And then he kind of he wanted to roll in the water, which is a really bad thing. And I let him. I shouldn't have, because that could be introducing bad habits. But that night, when we were camping, and this is something that my husband got, in the future, whenever we would go camping, he would say, okay, listen, I don't want you doing anything Sasquatch or Bigfoot related. We're here to camp. So if you hear anything, let's just pretend like we don't hear it. Well, that one night, we were in our horse trailer, and there was also like probably 60 or 70 other people. So there was a lot of people there. We ended up tying up my horse by his halter, because he was acting a little nervous. And so one way of training him is you tie him up close to the tree. I'm not a huge fan of that. I think it's cruel, but I'm not a horse trainer. So later he was tied up after like a while of being tied up to the tree just to get him to behave. He seemed to calm down a bit, but sometime in the night we were asleep inside the top of the very front of our trailer. And it probably was, I don't know, 2:30 in the morning. And I heard the howls outside. And we could hear it kind of like a clock, like 2 in the morning. It was to my right. And then it was to the back. And then at 4 in the morning, it was just howling. And I remember some people got up and at 4 in the morning, and they grabbed their guns and were like, what the hell is that? So that's why my husband said, don't be doing any more Bigfoot stuff when we come on these trips, because people are not going to understand. My husband really doesn't care either. He's like of the opinion, if they're there, fine. If they're not, just leave them alone. So he just was like, just act like they're not there or just ignore it. But 4 in the morning, howls, like really loud, like it came closer to camp, and it just didn't sound normal. So people went back to sleep, but some people didn't, and they started making coffee, and it's all that they talked about. So after that, anytime we went on these trips every October, I would just go for 4 days, and I really tried just to ride and just enjoy myself. And for the most part, with that many people there and with people talking and all the horses, going off, I really didn't hear anything for the other trips that we took in October. But that was probably one of the scariest times, other than in the big thicket. There just seems to be something in the big thicket there of the Sasquatch there. They're just so different. And I know people don't want to hear, well, that they're all bad or they're all in the South, to label them like that. Somebody up here, it was their opinion. Well, actually, this was a healer lady who said that it was her opinion that all the Sasquatch in the South, a lot of them are inbred. That was why they had 3, I think she said 3 toes. I know I've seen people that have said that have seen 3-toed tracks. Have you heard of that?
Well, 3-toed tracks, that's the kind of track Dogman leaves. So maybe they think that they're seeing a deformed Bigfoot, and no, that's Dogman track.
Well, what they have seen, different tracks, other than like the normal Sasquatch tracks, that they're just different. She also said she didn't think that they were much smarter, which I don't know if I can really agree with that, because that was how I started out. But one thing that could have been a problem too is the way we were researching. I think it was wrong how I started out, to have been doing calls and doing all that to get them to come in. And I know that's going to make people mad. But after living up here and living here, with them coming through my property, I mean, think about it. How would you like it if people are going to come looking for you, making calls and trying to come into where I live? People are, want to come investigate me. Well, I mean, just imagine how they felt.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, obviously feeding them and habituating them is obviously a bad idea. You shouldn't do that with really any wildlife, and especially anything potentially dangerous. I mean, would you go feed a grizzly all the time? That would be an equally dumb and bad idea. But then, beyond that, some of the approaches, I think a lot of it just has to do with humans' time schedules, and we want to cut corners and do things the easy way. The correct way is to Jane Goodall it and go out there and hang out with them for weeks or months at a time. The wrong way is to try and, pull the wool.
Lure them in.
If you're banging on trees or making calls or something like that, what are you thinking when you're doing that? Are you trying to convince the Bigfoot that you're a Bigfoot and they should come over and check you out? Because then that's like not a really good thing, because if they fall for it and they come over and check you out and find out you're not a Bigfoot, now they're not happy. Now you've got crabby Bigfoot that you just called in. That doesn't seem to be a good idea.
Right. And here's the other thing I'm finding out too. So like my area here, without trying to get off topic, because I don't want to go into the supernatural realm, okay? But Priest Lake is an hour away from where I live. That's one of my favorite places to go to. Now, if you look on a map, a lot of the lands around there is state land, or it's owned by the government, I guess. There's also some national forests there, and then there's Canada. People do have homes off of the lake, and then there's Upper Priest Lake. So the history of Priest Lake is very interesting. It was named Priest Lake for a river. There's also a town on the way to Priest Lake, and it's called Priest River. There was a guy in 2010 that was a hunter. He was experienced. He knew his way around in the woods. They found his truck off of some ridge, off of some logging road up in Priest River, and he was never heard from again. And I don't have his name here, but he was on some registry list, and I forgot what it was called, dang it. But he is one of the couple of people that I'm starting to research that are missing from this area. And there's another guy who had an encounter. He was picking huckleberries in the woods. So he parked his truck, he hiked into this area, and he went to this area that is like way out there close to Upper Priest Lake, off the beaten path. So he said that he stood up and he saw this person walking to him. And the closer the person got, this person was dressed as a priest. But not only was he dressed as a priest, he was dressed like from the 1800s time. And this priest started to say something to him. And I forgot exactly what it was that he said. But this guy is like looking at him. And the priest said, "You can always call on God by saying the Lord's Prayer. The Our Father who art in heaven," that one. Well, then the priest left, but he shook his hand. So he said he was there in the flesh because I shook his hand. So the priest left. And here he is in the middle of nowhere. He went to his truck and he sat in there and he was like, what the heck was that? And in his truck there, he found a Bible. I don't know if it was his Bible or what, but it was opened up to something, to some prayer, and it said something very specific. And I wish I can remember, but I can't. But that next day, he went back to the same area. He hiked in. Well, he looked up and he had an encounter with a Sasquatch, but he said it had glowing eyes and it was just growling at him or staring at him, and he was terrified. He started saying the Lord's Prayer, Our Heavenly Father, and eventually it left. So there's more to the story, but that is from the Priest Lake area. We go there quite a bit. We like to take our toy hauler there, and there's also a place called Granite Falls, and I'll just give this location. If you go to Priest Lake, excuse me, you can hike into Granite Falls, and it's an easy hike. You go to Priest Lake, you pass Nordman. So basically, you're going to travel on the left side of Priest Lake, and you will come to your destination. So you look up Granite Falls. There's a place to park. There's an easy hike, and then there's a harder hike where you have to hike around, but your destination is still the same. So there's 2 different trails to take. One is easy, one is hard. So a couple of Septembers ago, my sister was here in town from Arizona. My husband, me, my sister, and my son went to Granite Falls, and we took the hike. Now, when you come to this place, there's the Cedar Grove area. It's called the Old Cedar Grove or something like that. You can turn left, and you can basically come back down to the bottom of the trail, and that makes like a loop. So it's very doable for people that are not experienced in hiking. And then if you want, you can keep tracking into the backcountry. So on this one day that we went, we kept going straight instead of making a left to where the trail looped around because, well, we just, didn't realize it. So we kept going on the trail, and eventually we stopped, and we probably went a mile or a mile and a half extra because I was like, man, dang, what time is it? So then we stopped, and then we realized, oh crap, we should have turned back there to the cedar growth. So we ended up coming back, and then my sister was saying she wanted me to make some calls. And I said, well, I don't know, but I did. Again, I know I shouldn't, but I did. I made some calls, and we started walking back down the trail. Well, my husband, always packs. And so on this one day, we were coming back down the trail, and there was this huge boulder in the middle of the path, and it was not there going up. And we're all standing around looking, and I'm thinking, okay. And then we heard like a thunk. Something heavy landed in the ravine. It was coming. I was like, okay, it's coming. So then I said, let's just keep going down the trail. We'll be fine. So probably another half mile, we heard like rocks being thrown at us. So now I was getting a little scared, but not too scared because I knew that we were in an unknown area, but we were close to where there would be a lot of people because there was people hiking in that day to the falls and to the old cedar growth. So we finally came to the area there where the trail looped back around, and we continued going, and we stopped in this area where they call the old cedar growth. And there was other people there, and so we stopped and we were drinking some water and kind of just discussing what had just happened. And my sister was saying that big rock was not there. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. So something put that huge boulder there. And
how big was the boulder?
Oh my gosh. It was big enough, probably 3 feet high.
That's pretty big. That's going to be way too heavy for other outside of heavy equipment to be moving it.
Yeah. And so, like, if you don't take the loop, if you keep hiking like the direction that we would have gone, they would like you to tell them that you were going into the backcountry, because eventually that is where we probably would have ended up, because there's
they want
nothing
you to
around
tell them
there.
so they know where to search when you don't come back. I mean, oops,
Exactly.
if you don't come back, yeah.
Right. So they have like those booths there where you can write, your name and, where you're going, what your intentions are, or if you're going to do the loop, hey, no big deal. A lot of people do it. There's the easy way. And then the hard way is kind of creepy because it goes like around this switchback area. And then there's like this viewpoint. So we were talking, and I mean, I was like, okay, well, that was crazy. So then I saw these people that were going up the trail because we were going back down the other way. And I was like, where y'all going? And they're like, oh, we want to go see the old cedar growth. And I said, well, it's this way. And they're like, oh. And then I saw the sign where with the arrow, but heck, it was kind of like it was to the left, if I can remember correctly. And we just didn't see it. And that was the first time that we had tracked there. So I was like, no, y'all need to come this way. And then it loops back down. And these are old people. They didn't have a gun. And I'm thinking, well, what if they would have kept going? Eventually they would have been like, okay, you know, we're something's wrong here, because it says at the beginning, the trail is less than a mile or about a mile and a half. Heck, probably not even that much. And then you loop around through the old growth trail, and then you come to the waterfalls, and then you can come back down, or vice versa. But if you keep going though up that trail, it takes you to the backcountry. So that was something that was really crazy. I have been back 2 times, but we know the trail now, so I don't keep going. I just take the loop, and I'm hearing of some other strange things up at Priest Lake. Huckleberries are something here that are very important. People will pick them and sell them for like $35 a gallon. I don't know if it's okay to sell them or whatever, but people do. And they are, they come in the beginning of July. It just depends, because they also go to higher elevations, like later in the month of July into the beginning months of August. So,
right. And for everybody that doesn't live in the area where there is such a thing as huckleberries, and I didn't grow up in an area where they were around, and I didn't even know it was something that was real. I'd like to refer you to remember that in the Missing 411 books, 3 areas where people most frequently go missing are referenced. One is stony fields, rock talus slopes. The second one is swamps, and the third one is berry patches. And of the berry patches, the ones with the most missing people are huckleberry patches.
Oh, seriously? Okay. Yes. Well, so there are a lot of huckleberry trees up here in the area, not only where I live, but also in Priest Lake. So I got a report of this guy. He's a vet, and he is very, very quiet, okay? But he told me he was hiking with his daughter, and they were getting huckleberries. They were there sitting down in a grove, just enjoying the huckleberries. And here comes this Sasquatch, and it sits down.
So,
and,
Yeah, go ahead.
It sits down.
How far away was it?
Probably like within 7 or 8 feet.
Oh, good God. So like right next to him practically.
Yes, but it wasn't doing anything. It wasn't showing any kind of aggression. It was just kind of like sitting there watching them. And then it ate some huckleberries. And he just said he wasn't scared. He was in awe. And there was no glowing red eyes, as the other gentleman had described. And he said that his mission is to tell everyone about the Sasquatch, but he wants to preserve the species. Now, I don't know if he describes them as a people or anything like that, but these are the different reports that I am getting of Priest Lake area. That is one of my areas that I go to that I'll just tell people because there's so many places to go there to research. So it's not like I'm keeping a secret. So there's another story going back to Priest Lake. This involves a missing person. There was an older man and a woman. I'm assuming it was his wife. They were picking huckleberries. Well, she goes around the corner. He's not there. He's not there. She sees the backside of this creature or Bigfoot taking off, but she doesn't see her husband anywhere. And this thing turns around and it shows his teeth to her, and then he takes off. But her husband to this day has never been found. So that's another story. Huh?
What did its teeth look like?
She just said the teeth. She didn't really go on, but she said that the way that it scowled at her or growled at her, that they were kind of, some of them were chunky. Does that make sense?
Well, I usually get the description of Bigfoot teeth as like giant chiclets sort of thing.
Oh my gosh.
The carnivorous variety don't have teeth that look like that. The one that I saw had teeth that looked more like a shark or a bear trap.
Okay, exactly. But she didn't really go into detail. But the point is that another person told me, this veteran said, I heard that story. I said, you did? He says, yes, I bet it was the same story. He said, but it was an aggressive male that took the husband. And he didn't tell me about the teeth. He just said it was a male Sasquatch that took the husband, and he was never heard from again. And he's evil, because he would always say, hey, don't go to this part of Priest Lake. So if you look on a map and you see Priest Lake and you go to the very top above the lake, it's to the right of the upper Priest Lake. So there's Priest Lake, and then there's an upper Priest Lake that kind of goes off to the left. If you go straight up to the very top, close to Canada, that area is a huge no-no. Supposedly, it's a dangerous area where there are missing people from. But I have only heard that story in that area, and then I heard this other guy who was missing from his truck. So I know other people have had encounters there, but I am starting to research that one area in particular because I love Priest Lake. We even thought about possibly moving there, but it's just so far away. And land is so expensive there if you can't get land off the water. So it's just an area that is of interest to me. And so if I come back home here, if I go up the mountain, 7 miles up the mountain, the road's going to fork off to the right, one of the roads. That'll take me off in a completely different direction, but that is where we go huckleberry picking, 7 miles up the mountain, here where I live. So that's crazy. So Priest Lake is another area that I'm looking at that I don't mind sharing with people. You can go to Granite Falls there. It's on the left side. It's a place where you can go where people can hike to the falls, but don't take the trail and don't be making calls, okay? Because that is the northern area. So
skeptics that don't think Bigfoot is real, go camp there.
I don't think I think it's just day area. So unless you go to the backcountry, I have no idea. Also, these hunters were hunting and they saw something and it was on the news, but I don't know that whole story. But that's just the Priest Lake area. So that's like right there by Canada. So it's an hour from my house.
Yeah. So you know what's going on. It's those Canadian Bigfoot. They're coming across the border, wrecking up the place, stealing people. They're not nice like our our American Bigfoot would never do that. It's clearly those rowdy, out of control Canadian Bigfoot that are doing it.
Yeah. Okay. Don't you have something going on in Montana over there with? I've heard some.
I'm using the same excuse. They all came down from Canada. It's not. They're all crossing the border and coming down to Montana to wreck up the place.
Those damn Canadians. I would like.
He's a Cindyann,
Yeah, I know. So, hey, as far as where I live, they are fine here. I know them. They know me. I don't think what came to my house and slapped my house that night, I don't think it was a Sasquatch. I don't think it even was a juvenile. I'm thinking only because of what happened to my neighbor later on that day, and what he saw, and then what came back Memorial Weekend, and the description, and then the picture, which I will send to you, but you can't show it because it's not a good picture, and I'm not even going to go there. But
well, in that area, if it had a snow, it's more likely it was probably a gugwe, so maybe a gugwe slapped your house.
I have no idea. I don't know. But my son is 16. Will be driving. He still will be going camping. So I'm not as worried as I used to be. I mean, I was really terrified, and I think I've aged a million years these last couple of years with, here's the other thing too. The footprint that I sent you, the one that was found with the boot by the footprint, that was found by Blanchard Lake. Now, Blanchard Lake is private property. There are do not signs. Do not enter onto this property. No trespass around Blanchard Lake. The owner owns a lot of that area, and there is someone who patrols the whole property now. Now, the locals can go into a certain way to Blanchard Lake because a lot of people use it. However, in the one area that my son found this footprint, it was off the beaten path. And actually, we told the kids, you can't be going to that area. So that was a couple of Octobers ago. And then they were camping that next summer and had that encounter. Did you know that they called the sheriff's office terrified? They had the four-wheeler lights on. Instead of picking up the phone and calling us and say, hey, come get us.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense. You would think you guys would probably be closer than the sheriff's department too, but maybe I'm wrong.
With these kids, I mean, why didn't they pick up the damn phone and call us? I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's like it's not. It's so irritating. So my son found that print. He found it. I didn't. So I just think it's funny that he found that. And then I did find in 2005, I think I told you all on your last show, when I was watering my horses, I found some tracks there. And my older son saw those, and then we covered them up. And then it was going to rain, and I uncovered them because I'm not about, hey, let's cast this. I really at that time was not about that, and I'm still not about that. The only time I would cast something is if somebody found something and they wanted to say, well, what is this? I think that would be a good reason to cast something. In East Texas, we did a lot of casting. Another thing, too, that's different that I haven't seen up here, in the Big Thicket, we found a lot of teepee formations. Have you ever heard of the teepee formations?
You see them pretty regularly over here in Montana.
Well, other than the other regular structures, we found a ton of teepee structures there. But the way we researched then, we would go out and, they would make calls, which is what they could do because they knew what they were doing. But that's how I learned how to research, even though, that's not the very smart thing to do. So when I came up here, because my house is smack dab right here already, I didn't know just to go out and just observe and just be myself on my property. Hey, let's make a fire. Let's sit around. That all happened by mistake, kind of. In October of 2004, I think I said on the other show, when I got here, I wanted to know what was here. And the only way to know what was here was to call them in. So I went with another individual up part of the mountain, made some calls. After 20 minutes, we left and went to the other side of the mountain, mainly because the person that was with me wouldn't be quiet, and I couldn't stay there. It was not going to work. They were getting very antsy, saying, well, I was saying, well, what? We could be here all night and not hear something. So we went to the other side of the mountain. I made some more calls, and then you could hear them coming from where we were at, just sing-song, all of them. It sounded like a whole bunch of them were coming, the whole clan. And then you could hear the alpha male. And it got really high pitched. And we did get back in my vehicle and we came back down the mountain and I did come home. So, hey, maybe I brought him to my house. I don't know. But I do believe that they have been coming around, kind of just doing their thing, I suppose. Because at that time, my husband was active military, so he was gone quite a bit. And then when he retired, and he was still gone, but, not weeks at a time like how he was with the military, we had them coming around our house here. But it wasn't until I started audio recording that a couple of, I don't know if it was 2016 or I think I started recording in 2017, that I started learning everything. And I have had so many people want me to send my audio, like my files to them so that they can do whatever. But I'm not about that, because what I have here, I just like to share with people. But when people contact me and say, hey, that's not a Bigfoot, I'm like, what are you talking about? I thought they were going to say, oh, that's a wolf, or that's, but it wasn't. It's said,
a dire wolf. That's not a Bigfoot, it's a dire wolf.
Oh, God. And I was like, what? Okay, what are you talking about? And so I had heard of Dogman, but heck, I'm like, there is no way that could exist. But hey, a Sasquatch is there, right? I mean, I saw it with my own eyes on 2 different occasions. So why not a Dogman? And then I've heard that recording over and over and over. And you will hear some of the chipmunks going off, and then you'll hear the, and then it goes off a couple of times. And another recording that I don't know if I sent you, if I did, or if I didn't, I'll send it to you after the show, and then maybe you can implement it in. But my dog was outside barking. So we have half an acre fenced in, and our dogs will go through the doggy door. And I had put my audio out this one night, and I'll put it on the front porch or on my, somewhere outside. Like one time I put it on my tailgate. But this one night I put it right outside on my porch, and my husband was gone out of town. And this was spring break, because I remember my son had friends over and it was late. And my other friend texted me and said, hey, don't forget to put out your audio recorder. And I think there was some kind of full moon out, because I was like, oh crap, because it was after midnight. So I got my audio recorder, I put it outside, and within 5 minutes, you can hear a dog barking, and then you hear like this growl, like a low growl, and then it starts up like a T-Rex. And at first, when I heard the audio, I thought it was the neighbor's dog, but it's not. It's my lab that's barking at the fence line. And when I realized that, I'm like, okay, crap, that's not good. So now when I let my dogs out, I have to sometimes call them in, because if they go to the outer edges of the property, my gate is at like almost to where our road is at. So that gives our dog a lot of places to run in our front yard. But still, again, my road is semi-private. There's nobody across the street from me. It's all wooded. All the other neighbors, it's all wooded. I can do something here unless my neighbor was outside and heard something. So it's possible that it was my dog. I had to hear it over and over again. Somebody's asked me, is that your dog? I was like, no, that's it. That's the neighbor's dog. And then I was thinking, wait a minute. No, that's Gunnar. That's my lab. So I put out my audio that Friday night and that Saturday, and it was spring break, because I remember my son was on spring break. This was 2018 or 2017. Well, anyway, I put it out again the next night. So the next night, I got a little bit of a different recording. This thing was still hanging around, I got a roar, and it sounded the same, but it didn't have the low roar, kind of like a wolf creeping up or something creeping up on its prey, and it has a low roar to it before it expels into its full, spasm of a roar. That I probably would have to be the second worst recording that I have. And I attended the International Bigfoot Conference this last year because it's 2.5 hours away from where I live. So I have all these recordings, and I was sharing it with different people, and a lot of people really enjoyed listening to my recordings. The only thing was that is I had it on my phone, so it was kind of, not the same as if you play it on another quality, something else. But still, it was enough for people to hear. And this one lady, she was the producer of, I don't know what show that is. Anyway, Midnight in the Desert or something. She said, hey, can you send me these files? And, well, I never did. So that tells you the quality of my recordings. And I just try to play it down, because if I stop and look at everything, then I have to accept this is what's out there. You've just had a major cleaning in your area here. So not only did they clean this area, 3 healers got together. They all have different gifts. They cleaned this area. They said that the local tribal people have tried to get a protector here in the area, whatever that means. Again, I can't go into their description of what they did here. I understand it, but in their words, they could not find a protector for this area until they cleaned it completely. So I talk with these people, this one individual, every couple of weeks, and I check in with him. Hey, what do you see? And he's like, it's still clear. So all that I have here is whatever is out there, the Sasquatch, Dogman, Goodbrake, whatever. And I don't know what else other than what happened a couple of weeks ago. The logging, they're not happy about that. I'm assuming that's when a couple of people's ideas, but you said yourself, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, if I was living there for generations and humans showed up and started cutting the forest down, I wouldn't be very happy about it.
Well, they do logging all the time, management, whatever. But 160 acres, I am being told, is quite a bit when you have it being done on the other side of the mountain or in other areas as well. And then when a logger who tells me they're raping the mountain, I was like, that just kind of
Yeah, isn't that just like a general logging term, though? Raping the land or something?
I guess. I mean, I've never heard
let's
that.
go out and rape the land. Drink the morning coffee, go do some land raping. No, that's not what they normally say.
No, it's extreme. It's his point. It's more, but nothing is being done that is illegal. And because that's not my, I don't understand about that. I don't know how logging works. I don't know what the laws are. I don't know. But I do know that morning that I got out of my car and I heard that. I heard that moan. And then I was sick afterwards for a couple of hours into the evening. And that's how I remember it was Valentine's week, because it was either that Monday or that Tuesday that it happened. And I had talked to my husband and he had brought home chocolates, and I was just thinking, because I had said, well, I just, you didn't have to do that. And he's like, well, of course I did. But so that's how I remember. So I shared that with a couple of people. And this one lady who doesn't know what the heck she's talking about, she says, oh, that's wolves. I said, no, you hear a wolf in there or a possible wolf. with the dogs, but you also hear me say, my gosh. And I shouldn't have said that, but that's how shocked I was, because I'm used to hearing the howls or, whatever. If I step outside, oh, okay, cool. But to step out of my truck at 6:20 in the morning and to hear that, and it's still dark out, like with the blue morning haze coming up. I mean, I had to stop and put my purse down, and I was looking for my phone. And I got it out of my coat pocket, and I was like trying to start play, and that was what I got. And a lot of people have heard that, and, I've had just different opinions on it. So, you know what? I never say 100%, oh, for sure, that's a Bigfoot. Oh, for sure, that's a Dogman. Oh, for sure. Because people are always going to have opinions. But I live here. I know what's happening. I was standing right there. Also, there was this pole that comes out of the ground, and we have a dish there that feeds up to my mountain, and that's how we get our internet. And that is at the end of our driveway. So I'm standing at the end of my driveway because, number one, we have a lot of snow. And I pulled into our shop, and it's by the road. My house is further into the woods. So when I parked this one day, I parked in front of the shop, which is at the end of my driveway. I didn't pull up all the way to my house. I pulled up closer to the shop because I got out of my truck, and I heard that, and I was like, what? When I realized what was happening, and I grabbed my phone, and then I hit record, I thought, oh my gosh, it sounds so sad. And I shared that with some people that I trust, and that was their opinion. Because again, 2 months ago, when you open up my front door to let the dogs out, I could see lights up on the mountain, and I thought that was strange. Why are lights up on the mountain the end of January? And then people were, I kind of asked about it on the community board, and then other people are like, oh yeah, they're doing that on the other side too. We thought there was something shady going on. And then other people are like, no, it's very normal for loggers to log in the middle of winter. Wow, who knew? But then,
yeah, we don't stop living just because it's winter up here. It's irrelevant to us. It's winter up here most of the time. We're used to it.
Yeah, but then someone is saying, oh, so there's 160 acres over there on your side of the mountain, Cindy. And then someone is saying, well, over here they're doing logging. And so other people who normally would stand up for logging are saying it's extreme. It's a lot. So other than that, because I've never hear them at 6:20 in the morning making that sound. That sound that you hear there is something I will hear like midnight. If they're standing on a ledge doing that, giving some kind of message, if they're having a hunt or something. Another story that I left out is my son and some of his friends were walking down the road late at night, and it was on the weekend, and it was cold. And sometimes these kids will get onto a four-wheeler, and they will go down the road when they shouldn't, because 3 people on a four-wheeler is not good. So this one night, they had too many kids here. There was probably 6 kids here, 5, 6. So they wanted to go for a little walk. Well, I said, well, you can go around the block. Around the block is around this person's 20 acres. That walk is probably 1.5 miles around the block, or maybe even almost 2. Well, they started going around the block, and then they came back, and then they went down this other way, and they heard that same moaning sound that is super sad. So they decided to come back inside the house, and they told us, they said, we heard like this moaning sound, and it sounded so sad. So I've heard that same moaning sound. So I don't know what it means, but that's the same way that they described it. It's not aggressive. it's just a moan.
Huh.
And it's sad about something. I don't know how else to describe it. That's how they described it too when they heard it. I said, so were you afraid? And they're like, well, we were going to keep walking down that road because that road goes to the lake. You have to cross the highway. So they had gotten further down this other road, and then they heard it because it was in the distance of the lake, and then it goes off into the national forest. So they turned back around and they came back home.
You had an unhappy Sasquatch there.
So, I don't know.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show and updating us on everything that's been happening over there. And really appreciate you being back on the show again, and also for making available the CBD oil for people so they can get helped out with that too.
Yes. Really quick. If you have never tried CBD oil before, they can go to your link and click on shop, I believe. And I would start with a 500 strength. There's 300, 500, 750, and even 1500. The 1500 is what I take. My neck and my back are shot. In fact, the doctor said I need surgery. But rather than do that, because that's not going to happen, my husband had that surgery and it didn't help him, and I'm not going to do it. So I took the CBD at that time, and so that is what I'm taking. And that allows me just to have a dull pain. And sometimes when it still hurts, I might take our deep healing rub, which is made with emu oil and CBD. That is another top seller. And I will add it to the back of my neck and the pain is gone. So there are videos there that will teach people about the CBD and educate them. And if not, they can go to my Facebook page or ask you a question, and they can get answers that way as well.
All righty, great. And thanks to all you folks that have been helping out the show and keeping it afloat. It's been, wonderful to have that level of support. I appreciate every single listener and viewer out there, especially appreciate the viewers that watch the show. But the listeners love you too, and I really love everybody that's been pitching in, trying to keep the show afloat here while I'm trying to line up sponsors and whatever else it's going to take to keep things going here. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. I love you guys. I really appreciate it so much. And again, take advantage of this new opportunity that you've got. And thanks again to Cindy. Thanks, Cindy, for coming on the show.
Sure. And I just hope that people really who are interested in trying something, and it's not only for pain, for people that have experienced other symptoms, it helps me with my anxiety as well. To go to your website and to check it out, purchase something, and it will help support the show and help you as well. You can't go wrong with the 60-day money-back guarantee.
Yeah, that's the best part. 60-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't like it, you just get your money back. No problem. Nothing lost. Everything's good. All right. Well, so make sure that you're kind to everyone. Safety first, last, and always. Pay it forward. Don't be mean to people if you don't have to be. Don't flip off the mountain giant. Don't poke Dogman with a stick. Don't punt the puckwudgie. And for God's sake, whatever you do not hug the Wookiee. See you later, folks.